Hey guys, welcome to the Professional Development Podcast. We talk about 75 Hard, tips and tricks for success, why we did the program, how it impacted our lives, and why Bobby is a bitch, and to see if third time is a charm for 75 Hard.
Oh, man.
Hey guys, welcome to the Professional Development Podcast. Today's episode number 94, and we've got myself, which is Matt. We've got Bobby and
Hello.
Sal kicking it with us today. You probably won't hear a lot of Sal because he got the wrong notes for the episode what we're talking about. So today,
You can talk about passive income if you want.
we are going to hit on 75
I don't think I have
Hard, something that I've done. Bobby's currently going through for a second, maybe third time. Basically, our personal.
You suck. If Andy Frisella wouldn't have put out that fucking thing in the middle of me doing 75 Hard that said fucking golf, I would have done 75 Hard.
That's true. That's true.
He changed the rules midway through because he sucks at golf.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about our personal reviews of 75 Hard, and then tips and tricks for success, which obviously only I can give tips and tricks for success. But Bobby, I'm sure will have some input. So
What the fuck ever. What the fuck ever.
we'll get it rolling with quotes. And so this could be about 75 Hard, discipline, or anything related to the subject. Bobby, what do you have?
So I do have an Andy Frisella quote. So it was from one of his daily emails that he sends. He said, "It's not that successful people are always motivated to go do the shit they need to get done. They are just disciplined enough to see shit through, whether they are motivated to do it or not." So makes me think about 75 Hard a lot, just because you got the same 6 or so tasks that you have to complete every single day, and it can be monotonous at times. But even on those days where you feel like shit or you don't want to do something, you got to do them or else you fail. And I don't think enough people, they are just doing things when they feel motivated to do them and don't realize that they actually have to take action in order to get what they want.
And do them on the days when they're not motivated, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
What you got?
So I have a quote by a guy named Steve Maraboli, Dr. Steve Maraboli, and his life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We get stronger and more resilient. And so I was actually thinking about that a lot lately, based off some personal like PRs that I've hit. But then when you go through 75 Hard, it's like, okay, it doesn't get easier to do the workouts, right? It just, you get stronger. Like you're more capable of doing the workouts. The weights don't get easier or less heavy. Like you just get stronger. In each of those, the pages don't get easier to read. You just develop the mental capability to read faster and comprehend better. So that's a good one. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I learned in the program.
Love it.
Yep. I would say books. Pod, do you have anything on that really besides 75 Hard book?
There's the 75 Hard book is fine and everything, but I recommend this book all the time, and it's the one that I'm starting out with right now, Relentless Solution Focus. It just, the mindset of there's always a solution, always going to be a solution on that, or anything related, like The Power of Habit is another one of my favorite books by Charles Duhigg. So anything that's going to force creating habits and just being solution focused, I think are good books to read, but those are two that I'd recommend.
Yeah, for sure. Mine was just going to be the 75 Hard book. I mean, there's a lot, like the compound effect. There's a lot of different ones that we could just roll into the one thing, right? Like, there's a lot of books that relate to the program, but I would say if you're looking for 75 Hard, like just get the book.
But don't expect anything because the book is so terribly written. I don't
Is
know
there
if you
75
thought
pages?
that whenever you went through. Sal, you don't have anything to say. You've never read the book. Shut the fuck up.
I was asking if there's 75 pages on it.
You read 75 pages?
No, is there 75 pages in the book?
No.
Okay, then just asking.
All right. Just be prepared.
Yeah.
It's not a great read, but you just got to decipher through the terrible grammar if you're a grammar Nazi like me. So much of me feels like Andy Frisella did that on purpose just to see who could power through it. But if you ever read it again.
I did see like the misspellings and the grammar errors and all that. Honestly, I loved it though, because it was the first book I was reading on 75 Hard, and it's so spaced out and the wording is so big that getting through 10 pages was a fucking cakewalk. So I didn't mind it too much.
It's almost like reading a fucking picture book.
It was, and those are my types of books.
So are you saying that you failed 75 Hard because you didn't read a real 10 pages? How many words were on each page?
You know what? We won't actually. Rich, can you cut that? So I figure before we get into like the meat and potatoes of this, for those of you that don't know, we're just gonna explain what 75 Hard is. 75 Hard program. It was created by Andy Frisella as a transformational mental toughness program where for 75 straight days, you must follow a diet designed for your goals, which includes no alcohol or cheat meals. You complete 45-minute workouts. So 2 45-minute workouts, one of which has to be outside. Drink a gallon of water, read 10 pages of a self-improvement book, and take a progress picture. On the surface, this is a program that that obviously looks like it's for health and fitness, which obviously your health and fitness definitely improve, but he promotes it as a mental toughness program. Couldn't agree more. But let's kind of roll into the other questions because that kind of sets the stage for it. So it's, why did you decide to do 75 hard and then decided to do it again and then now you're trying to do it again?
So first off, fuck you again. I've had to say fuck you to everyone except for Rich now. So Rich, don't make me do it. So back in March of 2020, I was still with my ex and I wanted to do 75 hard. I came across the program and was thinking, oh, this would be great to do. And then I read through all the rules and I was like, no alcohol. It's like, well, I can't do this. Like,
Right.
There's no way. And I was thinking, like, I could do it and just drink. Like, that'd be okay, right? And I remember bringing it up to my ex and her just being like, yeah, you're never going to be able to do that. So first off, that showed me that I was not with the right person. And then whenever I stopped drinking just a couple months later, June of 2020, I was looking at this again and I was like, well, I don't do the one thing that really kept me from doing this in the first place, which was the drinking. So for me, that was the most difficult thing initially. And the reason I did it the first time round was I did want to lose weight. I didn't really see it so much of a mental toughness type challenge. It was more of a, how can I go from being a fat ass to back to where I was in college and early after college. And now, this second/third go around on it, it's more so trying to get that 6 inches between my ears back on track. As far as just getting more routine focused, I've been so all over the place, meetings that are just not really focused on what's going to move my business forward or what's going to make me better. So trying to get into some better habits here. And that's the main reason why I'm going through this now. And if I look in the mirror, I know I'll look in the mirror in 75 days and I'll look better than I did. But what they won't see, and I think what a lot of people don't realize what they get out of this is the mental aspect of everything.
And so just to give like everybody else context, I'm giving Bobby shit here, but Bobby completed 75 hard his first time around. Like this was
what?
This was before this was before like, I mean, it is what it is. Like this was before like nobody read the book. No, I don't even think we knew that there was a book at the time. It just said like all these things.
They weren't available in the stores.
And then Bobby, once or twice a week would go out and golf for 4 hours and count that as one of his workouts.
Well, I would walk 18 holes. And walk. I just want to say that. I would walk 18 holes.
He would walk 18 holes, right? Which is a lot, which is obviously walking and more physical activity than any type of 4 hour or than any type of 45-minute walk, right? It just so happened that it just sucks that we ended up having Andy Frisella on the podcast, and Andy Frisella was like, "Yeah, fuck you, dude. You did not do the program."
He told me I failed, and so that was the motivation to get back and do it the second time. Then the second time, I was a total bitch.
Second.
And
put it on me for a second.
Okay,
second time, you were a big ass bitch. You were such a fucking bitch.
I was 58 days in, dude.
We were doing it.
I know.
We were doing it together.
I know.
We literally were doing it together. 58 days in, and he stopped because is your girlfriend came in town?
Yeah, so it was her first time in St. Louis, and what's the stupidest part of all of this is I went to New Orleans a month before, and it was my first time going to see her and meeting her family and all that, and I still did 75 hard. I still ate good. I still got my workouts in, got my gallon of water, read my pages, all that stuff. And then she came here, and the whole thing was, I have to show out St. Louis. And I was like, well, how can I show out St. Louis without going to Emo's and getting a pizza or going to Busch Stadium and getting nacho tots, right? Or tachos. And I was a total bitch. I was 58 days in. I had fucking 17 days left. I had a little bit over 2 weeks, and Shelby is still mad at me that I did that. This was not a Shelby decision. This was me being a bitch decision. So I did listen to my bitch voice. My boss voice did not, or my beast voice did not reign supreme. So here I am, 2 years after I had originally started the first time. And I'll admit I have not completed 75 hard yet, but this is the time. Today's day 10.
Nice. So I think, and Bobby, this goes along with a lot of what you were doing, and I think this is the reason everybody kind of looks to 75 hard to start whatever, is looking for a change. I've always been a pretty involved person, at the time, business owner, real estate on the side, podcast, book club, got out to some networking events anyway, but it's like I also was getting kind of taxed out, like being the weekend warrior, right? Like living for the weekend. So it was like nonstop. And then I wasn't really seeing progress in these areas. So I talked about this before. You can call it an existential crisis. You can call it whatever, but it's like I was looking for more meaning in life. And I was like, okay, what would it be like if I just took away the booze, right? Completely and focused on nothing but the good habits for 75 days.
I remember whenever we were originally starting this, and it was me, Colin, Brad, and Dan all starting this, and
back in the shady spot
at the overtime studio, with all the sound effects and shit. I remember sitting there and we were saying, "Hey, we're gonna do this," and I specifically remember you saying, "I will not do this. I like my White Claws too much.
I like my seltzers.
You like your seltzers. We have to go back and find that clip from it. It would have had to been our first 5 episodes, but yeah, that was it, man. And then you've clearly been smashing it since. I mean, completed the whole Live Hard program. So
for sure. So
props to you, dog.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So being that you've done this a handful of times or attempted a handful of times, you've obviously been in the thick of things. And I'm not trying to make fun of you, but you were a bitch that last time.
Definitely not gonna deny that.
But there's a lot of learning that goes along with that. So what are the biggest lessons that you've learned from the program?
So it's interesting because there's so much to it, and people see doing something for 75 days as incredibly difficult, and it is, to be that consistent around so many different things. What it's helped me do the most is be really good with my time management. So like this go around, like my alarm goes off at like 4. I'm a weird person with my timers or my alarms. It's like 4:58 a.m. is when my first alarm goes off. 5:01 is my second one, and then by 5:05 I'm reading my book.
Yep.
Right. So and then as soon as I'm done with that, I go for my first workout. So as far as it's just really gotten me into really good routines. And getting your day started off with a workout has been probably one of the most important things for me. But I don't know, there's so much self-development, like the books that you read, you just find yourself consuming a lot of content that is good. And it made me realize how much shitty content I was consuming before this. And we are what we watch and what we listen to. So if you wake up every morning and turn on Fox News or CNN versus doing something for yourself, you'll notice, I don't know, I just noticed a significant difference in my day.
Yeah, 100%.
How about you?
So I've noticed that I've never done anything besides like eat, sleep, and maybe shit for like 75 days straight. Like nothing. And so that's kind of crazy to me. Like when we talk about the compound effect, it's like that's real. Like doing something that's going to move the needle in your life forward, whether it's from a health perspective, or a personal or spiritual development, the 75 straight days, it's like that is probably the biggest game changer. It's like if you can take one thing out of that, it's like pick one thing in your life, whatever's going to help you move the needle, and try doing that. Same thing as you. It's like the tough days, obviously, like those were game changers for me. I started to really enjoy the outdoor workouts that were in the shittiest conditions. So it's like dumping rain, there's a foot of snow on the ground, or your day got fucked and you got to do like that walk run or whatever at midnight.
Yep.
I actually realized that I was enjoying those. Now, although when I started, I might not have been necessarily enjoying them. Like as soon as I got in the mix of it, I was like, boom, endorphins kicked in. I felt a lot better. And it was cool to think about. Andy talks about this where it's like, it's a cool feeling when you know nobody else, like everybody else is using that as an excuse not to go out and do something. And you're one of the really, really small percentage of people that are actually doing it. So you're already a small percentage by getting out there and working out. Like when you do it under shitty conditions, that's just a cool feeling. And I don't know any other way to explain it. So
I feel the same way. Just the other day, I have 2 guys doing it with me. I got this guy on my team, Bryson, and then kid on his team, Kevin, all doing it and kind of like accountability buddies on this. And I was out for my morning workout, and I texted them and I was like, does anyone else feel like they're fucking king shit right now? And this was like day 7.
Yep.
And I just felt the same way. It was just like, there were some people out getting a workout in the morning and stuff like that. But for the overwhelming majority, you are a very small percentage of people that are choosing to start their day like that.
Yeah, big time. So, and least, let's go favorite and least favorite parts about the program. Sal, let's kick it to you for a second. What would be the reasons that you would want to do 75 hard? And then what would be the reasons that you would not want to do 75 hard? Like if you had to pick like the most difficult part you don't think you could get over.
Or the reading part.
Yeah.
It's just not like a big novelist guy. So like I'll read like articles and stuff, but like from what you guys were saying, like you got to read a book, 10 pages. I was like, all right, I'm not too.
Wait, what define novelist?
I don't know, like what kind of books do you read? Like is it just like books on like self?
You know how you've listened to like all of our podcast
Yeah.
episodes? We've interviewed a ton of people that have their own books and we've read a ton of their books.
So those
like Bedros Keuilian, Dr. Jason Selk, Andy Frisella's got a book too.
Well, yeah, I know.
I mean, and then Shep Hyken. I mean, the list goes on. Connor Beaton has a book coming out, right?
Yeah.
So like any of those kinds of books.
I know, but I feel like I'll listen better to like audio. I just can't like. For me, it's like it's hard for me to.
So that would be the number one hardest part. Not the alcohol, not the follow a diet plan, not the workouts, not the gallon of water.
I feel like I could do fine.
You could
on
smash those.
Yeah.
So just so you know, a novel's like a fictitious book.
Yeah.
So
I like how you Googled novel. I looked over and I was like, this guy didn't just come up with saying fictitious book.
No.
Like, he straight up Googled the definition of a novel.
I thought
I'm trying to roast him.
I thought it was fictitious. Not in that exact word, obviously. And I was like, okay, if I'm gonna make fun of Sal, I better be right when I make fun of Sal.
I thought the same thing. You hear novel and you think like fucking, I don't know, some Lord of the Rings type shit.
Yeah. So Bobby, favorite and least favorite part about the program?
So favorite. So my favorite, actually, one of them is the reading because it gives me a reason to read every single day. Like I won't choose to read unless I'm doing something like this. So that's where I think 75 hard has been a huge help. So trying to get into the habit of that and hopefully continue that on after 75 hard, which by the way, this is the year of Live Hard for Bobby D. I will do the whole Live Hard program, phase 1 through 3 after.
Fuck yeah.
And then the least, so should I go least favorite part?
Yeah.
So least favorite part, at least initially, was following a diet plan because I had no idea what to do. I was just like, I've never followed a diet plan in my life for the most part. My metabolism was really good. And then I worked really hard against it from years like 26 to 30. And the compound effect of eating like shit, getting high every day, drinking all the time. Next thing you know, you go from 205 to weighing 260, and it's just like overnight. I'm like, I looked at pictures of myself yesterday just because we were talking about how fat I used to be. Me and Dan Parrish were talking about it up at Concord for some reason.
Nice.
And I was pulling up these pictures and I was showing him and I was like, God, I really looked fucking awful. How did I not look at myself earlier and think that I wasn't okay?
Oh, even in Colorado, like because you know how like you get these pictures that pop up on your iPhone?
Yeah.
And it's like, they'll just be like random. Like a lot of times the one pops up when you and I are like climbing up that like little mountain or whatever, or like hiking up that mountain. And you definitely, you look a little chunk.
Yeah, dude. And that was after I'd gotten through all that stuff. So even since then, that was probably the biggest thing is just making sure that I was eating the right things, and then the compound effect of eating the right things over the last couple years, been able to maintain where I've been at. Obviously, now I want to go a little bit further past it. But how about you? Favorite, least favorite?
So this is up there, and I'd just be like, I'd be lying if I didn't say like one of the top things was when I got on like the InBody scan and it said I was 5.7% body fat. Like 3/4 through 75 hard. Like that was pretty fucking cool.
Get fucking horny.
Yeah, because like a year prior to that, my goal was just to get under 10% at some point. So that was cool. I got to mention that, but realistically, the number one thing was during flex, like literal and figurative. So phase 1. So to me, like the different phases when you start incorporating that stuff, like into, so in each phase, when I picked 3 other critical tasks, I had one that was financial, one that was business related, and one that was like spiritually related, right? And so doing those things, those were the big, like, those, because those are the reasons that I did 75 hard to begin with, was to like clear the clutter and get better in all areas of my life. So doing those critical tasks for 30 straight days, and one of them, it was like 42 because I had messed up on phase 1, like that was probably the coolest thing to me. And then actually on the other side of that coin, on phase 3, there was a critical task that I picked that I just was not seeing returns. Not even I wasn't seeing returns on. I was just like, I picked the wrong thing. So when I had to like continue to do that every fucking day, and I was just like, there's like I realized it was the wrong intention. It was wrong, whatever. It was just like outreaching people on LinkedIn that I realized like were not going to help or benefit me. So I actually ended up like outreaching a bunch of people that replied and said that they were down to grab coffee, and then I just didn't reply back. I mean, I felt like a dick, but I was just like, fuck, like I don't there's no benefit for either of us, and you know what I mean. And so it's like, I don't know, I probably not the best way to go about that, but yeah, just to kind of give you some context. Yeah, I still did it. So my least favorite part is like if you pick something and there's really, I get why you have to stick to it, but it's just like I felt that I could have picked something better that really had returns, and it wasn't that. So speaking of tips, somebody who is thinking about doing 75 hard, what would you say to them? Like, what tips would you give them? What would be the biggest advice that you would give, both from like really any perspective?
So anyone who's thinking about doing it, or if you've thought about it before, odds are there's something in your life that you are not happy with, right? I know for me, like just in what we were just talking about, for me initially, it was I was fat and I wanted to get into better shape. For you, you were like, I want to eliminate some alcohol, right? This go round for me, it's I want to be sharper and get back into a better routine, right? So if you're thinking about this, there's a reason. So probably a good idea to ask yourself, why do I think this is a good idea for me to do this right now? I think that is a super good thing to do. But then as far as other tips on this, if there's anything on there that you do not feel like you are good at, or that you do not have a good handle on, whether that's a diet or you're not sure how much water you're consuming, buy a gallon jug. I carry this with me everywhere that I go. And
not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor. This is just from Amazon. Or like for me, I didn't know how to follow a diet plan whatsoever. So I hired a nutrition coach. I spent $300, did all these different measurements. I was able to text her any time of day and say, hey, is this good? Hey, is that good? And that was really helpful. So, and then get creative too. Like the first go round, I feel like I did a lot of the same thing for all my workouts, especially when I was losing weight. Those were a lot of walks for me, and that eventually turned into walk runs. Get creative with those. Google 45-minute workout ideas, YouTube those different things. But the only thing stopping people on this is themselves. I've been a victim of that, obviously, but you just got to figure out why this is important to you, and then choose whether you want to go all in or not.
Yeah.
What about you?
I agree with all those. I think preparation is key. I think before you can get and understand your diet, understand your limitations. I agree with that 100%. So I won't get into those. 2 things that I have. 1, get to day 21. So many fucking people that I've talked to have majority fail in the first week, right? Like they get through that. They do the first like handful of days, and then they get to an opportunity where they can drink, and then they're just like, fuck, like literally like 11 more weeks of this or whatever the fuck it is. Get to day 21, break it down into more manageable chunks. Because if you can get to, and this is even like, there's a little bit of science, like it's between 21 and 65 days, depending on like what the habit is, like to get yourself in a habit and get yourself in a groove. If you can just tell yourself, let me get to day 21, then I can allow myself to really decide from there if I want to go through or not. That's going to help immensely, right? Especially because majority of the time that you do this, some type of curveball gets thrown at you, like at the very beginning to try to fuck you up. For me, it was a small house fire. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Day one.
You came and stayed with me for a night.
Yeah. I had to stay at 4 different places in the first 4 nights, 75 hard, back and forth to where I'm changing clothes, going to work, staying at somebody's house. It was a clusterfuck. But that's the one thing. The other thing, use the app and post on social media. So I don't care who the fuck you are, unless you're a completely narcissistic person, you care about what other people think. Like you care to some extent what other people think. Everybody knows what 75 hard is. And so if you're posting and you realize that you're on day 7 or 14 or whatever it is, and you're thinking about throwing in the towel, it's going to go through your head like, hey, everybody I follow on Instagram is going to notice that I'm not putting up stories and it stopped after X amount of day. That's not a bad thing. Use that as a motivator and use that to help you through the program. So those are my big things.
So I love that. And I'll add one more thing to that is don't be a perfectionist. I remember the last go round whenever I bitched out. The very first day, I had this really good intention to go for a hike and my calf was fucking with me. And I was like, my calf feels like shit. I can't do this. And then I was like, well, I can just go for a walk. I was like, I'm just going to go for a walk on a flat surface. I was like, because I literally, whenever I was going up the elevation, I had to turn halfway down or like up the hill and then went back down, went home, and then went for a walk after that. I know Dan's talked multiple times about like, oh, if I'm going to do it, like I'm going to have to go like really hard on every single workout, right? Like I got to go, he'd be doing like, whether it's a cycle bar and then go do something else that's like high intensity. That's not what 75 hard is about. It's about building a routine, being disciplined enough to be intentional about going for that 45-minute workout. So there's going to be some days where you just are going to check the box and it's not going to be a perfect workout. I mean, obviously with a diet plan, no cheat meals as far as that's concerned, but maybe you don't eat like your favorite foods in that day. And like for me the other night, I had to get to my protein goal that I have. My 220 grams of protein is my diet plan goal. And I had 2 buffalo burgers at fucking 10 p.m. that I had to get there. I needed 67 more. So I had protein bar. The 2 buffalo burgers were 25 grams of protein each. They were frozen. I had to defrost them, which took about 15 minutes. And then I cooked them. Whenever I cooked them, I did not cook them all the way. And then I had to zap them in the microwave and they were fucking disgusting. And I was like, this sucks. This is an awful way to end my meals for the day, but I hit my protein goal. So whatever it takes, don't be a perfectionist. Just get it the fuck done and go to the next day.
That's a really good one. And yeah, that's actually one where I disagree with Andy Frisella. Not disagree necessarily, but him and Ben Newman are like, I never fucking walk. Like I never do a fucking walk. And it's like, some days I'll go out there and I'll burn literally 3,000 calories between my active workout, my like weightlifting, and then the amount of volleyball that I'm playing. So my next day, it's like I'm fucking walking and I'm not throwing on a vest, right? So it's like, and it depends on your level of fitness. But anyway, Bobby, you hit the nail on the head. Don't be a perfectionist. Just get it done. Just know some days you're going to check the box, but you're still going to check a box that would have never been checked before you started that program. So we have an OnlyFans inquiry. I will read it. Bobby, I'll let you read it because you know the people and they sent it. So
yeah. So this one is from one of my buddies. He said, here's a legit question, as if he was going to ask a non-legit question. Something that I fear, him and his wife, they said, I don't drink a ton, but we do it to relieve stress. She's a partner at a law firm, high-level stress job. I have a full-time job in media, plus own media company, plus his other company, 314. So I think he was trying to get this in here to maybe advertise a little bit. So not a sponsor
Shameless
yet, but
plug.
Good try, Andrew. So 3 jobs, also very stressful. Oh, and he said, and Max, his son, who is a handful himself. How do you cope with stress during 75 hard? Working out doesn't always relieve that stress. So
you want to kick it off? Or you
want to go? You want to go for it? Have you been thinking about it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go for it. And then I'll chime in.
So if Andy Frisella was here, he'd probably tell you to quit being a pussy and just do it. And he'd probably say,
damn.
He's probably just, and then he'd probably say that there's people who have a lot more going on than you and actually did the program. The first one, I'm not going to say that, right? The latter part, I'd probably agree with. But realistically, although I agree with the second part, I'm just going to say 75 hard isn't for everyone. And I'm not like saying this in a like I'm built different kind of way, right? Like I'm not like,
like that guy who cracks that egg on his bicep and says, I'm built different.
Yeah. But this goes back to, Bobby, what you said. And it's, if you're thinking about doing 75 hard, the number one thing I'd ask is, why do you want to do 75 hard? Are you out of shape? Are you drinking too much? Are you looking for more control in your life? Or do you just feel like something needs to change? I'm a firm believer that there's more than one ways to skin a cat. And I don't think it has to be 75 hard. You know, I think there are multiple catalysts that you can take. I believe 75 hard 100% changed my life and was great. Everything about it, between the personal accountability, the big group that does it, right? The fact that there's a book, the fact that, you know, one of my favorite people in terms of self-development started the program, like all these things contributed to it, and definitely shifted my mindset. You don't have to do the program to make those changes, but you have one of three options, right? You do 75 hard, one. Number two, Google challenges that you can do during whatever the fuck's going on in your life. You know, maybe you're just busy, maybe you're super stressed, or you can call it an existential crisis and you're looking for more purpose. Or the third one, and this is going to be the super unpopular opinion, and I'm going to go with do a modified version of 75 hard that you can actually stick to. And realistically, it's like, to the point of this is to change, right? So whatever helps you get better in life, you know, without causing a mental breakdown, is going to be good for you. And who gives a fuck what other people say, right? Even if that means that like you can do everything in there besides a second workout, or like besides an outdoor workout, or whatever it is, like just do it as if it's going to get the job done of what you want to accomplish. Just know and accept the fact that you can't tell people you actually did 75 hard, or Annie Frisella Fairy will come in and kill you in your fucking sleep.
So I agree with all that, and I love that. Well, if they're going to do some sort of modified version of it, it's don't modify different things on a daily basis and say, I think there's certain things that you should stick to, right? I think you should stick to the no alcohol, right? I think you should stick to the no cheat meals. If you're going to adjust anything, like there's people that like Shelby may never drink a gallon of water in a day in her life, right? Like drink a half gallon, like commit to a certain amount, or like you said, the workout or something along those lines. There's certain things that I feel like should be non-negotiables, even if you do modify it, because at the end of the day, if you can't go without having a drink or doing something like that, I think that that's a different type of problem. And Andrew's one of my best buds, but if the alcohol is, you see that as a stress reliever at the end of the day, alcohol is a poison. It is a toxin that is not going to make you feel better. So there are other stress relievers. I'd say if that's something that you find as a stress reliever for yourself, there's got to be something else. And exercise, maybe it's not the fit for everyone, but maybe there's something else in there. Maybe it's meditation. Maybe it's reading a book about how to find other ways to relieve stress. I don't know. And then on the other side, obviously life is very busy. It's all about time management. So right now, like for Andrew, it sounds like there's a lot of things like, and he is busy, right? He works for a different company. He owns his own apparel brand. I know Lacey is incredibly busy as a partner at the law firm. So trying to find the time to do those specific things, getting up earlier so you can knock those things out earlier. I think it is 100% possible, and any excuse that people make is exactly that. It's an excuse. So if it's important to you, like Matt said, figure out why it's important to you, and if it's that important to make that change, go all in. So
yeah, and I'm going to agree with most of that, but also disagree on the if they want to keep drinking in their lives, but they're not doing a lot of it, and they can limit or whatever, not even limit it. It's like if that's not the issue, right? Because a lot of people do it because they can't give up the booze, right? So if that's the issue, like just 100% cut that out. But it's like if it's like the like a spiritual aspect, right? Like, plug in like journaling or something. Like I said, like find something that you can do that you're supposed to do for 30, 60, 75, 90, whatever days those are, like tailor it to what you can do. But like Bobby and I both said, like the big thing is figure out why you want to do it and which areas you really want to make the biggest changes in your life, and then structure those daily habits and disciplines around that.
I love it.
Yep. Cool. We are already running on time, so we're out of here, guys.
Sorry, Rich.
If you have any questions, hit us on Instagram. If you enjoy the content that we're putting out in any way, shape, or form, share it with a friend. Also, leave us a 5-star review on any of the major platforms. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Deuces.